So I'm here to exhibit my excitement for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, coming out in theaters July the 17th, 2026. And I want to exhibit that excitement by doing a book review, a book summary of the book. I've always wanted to read The Odyssey. I've read versions adapted for children when I was young, but never read the actual book. And I've put off reading it, but nothing's going to motivate me to read a book more than knowing that Christopher Nolan is going to make a movie of it. And it's so exciting because it's an epic story. It's an incredible story. And by incredible, I mean that literally. Like, there is stuff that happens in the story that defies credibility. It involves Greek gods. It's Greek characters from Greek mythology. So gods, goddesses, a lot of powerful beings, and the role they play in the lives of human beings, particularly this human being, Odysseus. So it's going to be awesome. And Christopher Nolan, when for the most part, everything's practical. And to see him bring this story to life with practical sets, and he's going to make the Cyclops practical. I can't wait. It's going to be just a wonder to behold. So The Odyssey is a sequel to the book The Iliad. The Iliad is the story of the Trojan War. The Odyssey is the sequel to that story. So The Odyssey starts by describing Odysseus as resourceful Odysseus. Other translations say a man of wide-ranging spirit. Another translation says a man skilled in all ways of contending. So let's just use the word resourceful. So resourceful Odysseus. And it's strongly inferred that it's his resourcefulness that is the reason why the Greeks won the Trojan War. He's the one responsible for the Greeks winning the Trojan War. So it was Odysseus's resourcefulness. His resourcefulness was the reason why the Greeks won the Trojan War. And the Trojan War was a 10-year-long war. It was brutal. It was violent. You'd think that would be enough hardship, 10 years of hardship. But the Odyssey is emphasizing the hardship of coming back home. Odysseus experienced many griefs, many great anguish, troubles that vexed his heart on his journey back home. And I'm pulling from different translations. He labored hard, he battled hard. He fought hard to bring himself and his comrades back home. But he did not succeed in bringing his comrades back home. But the story makes it clear that it wasn't his fault. It explains, without giving you any story points, without describing what happened, we're told that his comrades, they ate the cattle of the sun god Hyperion. And the story makes it clear that it was their fault. It was their blind recklessness, their own folly that led to their demise. It wasn't Odysseus' fault that they died, even though Odysseus fought hard to bring his comrades back. So here's Odysseus. He's trying to get home. His comrades have died. It wasn't his fault, and it's important to establish that it wasn't his fault, because he tried his best to bring his companions home, but their foolishness led to their death. And it also points out that they died because of their blind recklessness, their foolishness. So it points out that Odysseus wasn't foolish, that Odysseus wasn't like his comrades. And it kind of points out that Odysseus is not like other men. He's unlike any man. And that's why his story is such a great story that is a classic. So we've been given context about what's happened and where we are now. So where we are now is that we're at a point where everyone who survived the Trojan War and everyone who survived the journey back home, everyone who survived, they're all safe at home. It says that everyone who survived the perils of war and the perils of the sea, the voyage home, everyone who survived those perils are safe at home. They put the perils of war and the perils of sea behind them. Those hardships are in the past. They put it behind them. That's true for everyone except Odysseus. He's the only one who hasn't made it home. He survived the perils of war, but he hasn't survived the perils of sea yet. He's the only one who hasn't returned home, who's still alive. So where is Odysseus now? So we're told Odysseus is being held captive by the goddess Calypso, a goddess of strange power and beauty. And this goddess, she wants Odysseus for her husband. And because of her craving to have Odysseus for her husband, she's holding him captive in her arching caverns, in her vaulted caves. What I find really interesting is that we're told that even when Odysseus arrives home, the troubles do not end for him. There's more hardship for him. Even when he arrives home, the hardship doesn't end. There's more hardship. So we're told that he's not going to be held captive by this goddess forever. But even when he arrives home, there's going to be more hardship. And I find that such an incredible piece of incredible example of non-linear storytelling. You know, there's suspense, but the suspense is not in what happens. We're told what happens. He's going to arrive home. He's not going to be held captive by this goddess forever. But even when he arrives home, there's going to be more hardship. And now I really love where the story goes, because where the story goes, it's regarding how the gods respond to Odysseus. So I put off reading this book because, you know, I don't believe in Greek gods. You know, I'm Christian. I believe in one God. You know, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they believe in one God. Then, you know, there's people who don't believe in God. And whatever you believe, I think it's so interesting to think this story is such a great portrait. It's a great portrait. It paints a great portrait about how these Greek gods think. And maybe these Greek gods aren't like the God you believe in or the God you don't believe in. But it's so interesting if you don't believe in a God, I think it's interesting to see a story about why people believe in a God and how people think of gods and getting involved in the lives of human beings. I think that's interesting. It's interesting to see this portrait of how gods think. Maybe the way these gods think don't think the way your God thinks. I think the story in this book, it can make you think about how your God thinks, even if you don't believe in a God. It's interesting to see this story about how gods reason and make decisions regarding how they get involved with the lives of human beings. And I think that's just so fascinating. So we meet the goddess Athena. And the goddess Athena is the goddess of war. So she's a warrior, the ultimate warrior. And so she recognizes the warrior spirit of Odysseus. And she really recognizes his struggle. And she's heartbroken for Odysseus and the hardship he's going through. So we are told that all the gods have compassion on Odysseus, all except Poseidon, who has this unabated anger towards Odysseus.